Absolute honor for me to sit next to these two very, very accomplished women. And they need no introduction. In the interest of time, I would like to just directly get on to the session. The topic we have is how do we nurture and build women-led startups? Now, when we talk about women-led startups, we should, I think, start with what constraints that, or what is blocking women from building more startups. So we want to start with that topic. There are various reasons, but the most important one, and this is something many startup founders say, is finding the money. Whether it is the credibility for the entrepreneur when she tries to present her case, pitch her case. There are many of them that they say, people, still give us the respect and hear us out, but they say politely, they say no. And also things like, most women don't own properties on their name, they're joint properties. So which means when they go to a bank, they don't have a collateral to offer. So many of the easy funding options which are available are not there for women. So you have done so much work in this space. I want to start with you on about this constraints of funding and how do women overcome this in your experience?
Yeah. Hello. Thank you, Sandhya, for that. Before I start, I want to thank the organizers, CoRE group, as well as Vananam, as well as 10,000 startups by NASSCOM that I'm associated with. I actually mentor some entrepreneurs at 10,000 NASSCOM. So I'm really thankful to all the organizers for this wonderful opportunity. Namaskara, Bengaluru. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here and was absolutely floored by the finance minister today and madam's address before that. So, I am the founder of Loan Genie Inspire, which is a one-stop finance app or a finance platform for millennial Indian women. So it is, we are offering a bouquet of financial services to the Indian women. And the reason for that, the reason is that, the statistics are staggeringly very dismal about, how women are faring in India. So close to 80% of the women, I would say that would be hundreds of millions of women do not have financial literacy. So they don't even have the knowledge about finance. Close to, from the women that invest, I would say this is only some 7% of Indian women are investing today in stock markets and mutual funds, FDs. So what is the rest 93% of the women doing? So we want to address these anomalies. We want to provide products which are made with the woman in mind. We want to make the journey smooth so that not only 7%, but can it be 97% of the women investing? So, and how can they start investing? With the financial knowledge, with the empowerment. So the Indian government has done a wonderful job with the financial, education part of it. We have the National Stock Exchange, like Ma'am Sitaraman just mentioned to me in reply to my question. So she did mention that we have initiated many programs from the government side to reach the common woman or the man. But still definitely there is a lot of work to be done because of, not because there is the intent lacking, but that, there are so many challenges which government alone cannot overcome. So it has to be the whole ecosystem. It has to be the corporates jumping in, the startups jumping in, the government. Just like what happened during COVID. In COVID, you would seen the might of India, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Shri Modi ji, that we actually surprised and shocked the world with the kind of, the kind of response that we provided. Overnight, we had, factories manufacturing ventilators, masks, everything, and then vaccines. So I think India has that capability, and which is being nurtured today under the leaderships of Mr. Prime Minister Shri Modi ji, Ma'am Sitaraman. So the intent is also there. The startups today actually face a lot of challenges. And let's say if we are talking about women entrepreneurs in specifically, they have their own set of challenges. So you will be very surprised to find that only 2% of women are getting funding in the Indian ecosystem. But I don't want to paint only India black in this. I would also quote the rest of the world. There also a similar dismal percentage, five maybe handful of percentage, 4 or 5%, single digit percentage is getting funding. So this is not only happening in India, this is happening the world across. But a lot of positive steps are also being taken, by the way. Let me also mention the Elevate program of Karnataka government where we are, where close to 30% of funding is given to women entrepreneurs. And also, various initiatives are being taken all across. Like, let's say NASSCOM has NASSCOM Tech Women Entrepreneurs that I'm a part of. Then CII, which is Confederation of Indian Industries, has Indian Women Network. Again, I'm a part of that. I'm the membership convener for that for Karnataka, where they focus on women entrepreneurs as well. Then we are talking about TAI. So TAI, Bengaluru, I'm a part of the TAI FinTech committee there. And you'll be surprised to know that the FinTech committee is being headed by a woman there under the leadership of Madan Padaki. The lady, her name is Sandhya Vasudevan. So she brings in all this banking experience. So she's heading that, and I'm also working with her. So TAI Bengaluru also has a wing for women, TAI Women, Bengaluru Women. So TAI, NASSCOM, CII, all these industry bodies are also jumping in and supporting the government. So I would say there are challenges around funding, around capability building, also access to the market is a very big one. So I don't want to cover all the shortcomings. I'll let Ma'am Ghosh also look at some of the shortcomings. But there are immense challenges. But I would say there are also a strong intent to empower women today. And we are exactly at the very right time to be stepping into entrepreneurship. And we have wonderful role models also to look up to. But I will let ma'am also handle some of the challenges which she sees entrepreneurs face.
Sure. Thank you so
Moderator,
much.
with your permission, let me invite another panelist on board. I think we have very rich resources out here in the audience in the absence of the other panelists. Let me invite this woman entrepreneur, Ms. Roma, who runs an enterprise called Evolve Fruit, I think, if I've got it right. So welcome on stage, Ms. Roma, to tell you more about her venture. Thank you for joining us.
Hi. Welcome, Roma. It's nice to have you on stage.
Thank you so much.
And I'm really brave of you. We haven't even spoken before.
Yeah, it's an impromptu thing now. Yes, yes,
totally
absolutely.
extempo.
Absolutely.
Yes. So there is one women love to be heard, and they are seldom heard. We have that complaint that we are not heard. Some of us are feeling like that on the stage because all of you are having your own individual conversations. So may we request that we be heard, or you could have your conversations outside, because there's a lot of noise that is coming on to the stage, and it is surely distracting for the panelists. Thank you. So I want to move on to the next aspect, which is we always many times externalize this aspect of women in entrepreneurship, and we're not getting funding, various aspects we spoke about. But many times it's also internal. We grow up in patriarchal societies. We're never used to taking decisions. So sometimes when the point where you have to take a decision, make a call, move forward, that courage or confidence is not there for women. And in addition to that, many times they battle several gender stereotypes. And sometimes it's not even gender stereotypes. People feel they don't get respected because they are short or their voice is sounding differently. So I want to hear your thoughts on some of these aspects and how you think women should deal with them.
Thank you for that question. I think it's a very interesting question as to why women are not heard. But before we really go into the entrepreneurship that women take, frankly speaking, there is a huge divide as far as socio-economic standards are concerned. You will find, especially in the villages and as well as in the poorer section, you will find the women do take up entrepreneurship. And you will hear many stories where probably the husband is a drunkard, or he does not, support the family, or is separated or widowed and so on. So it is the women who actually takes up certain jobs, okay, maybe making, dosa batter, or probably giving a small little shop or so on to bring up the family. So it is not true that the women do not really take up entrepreneurship. But I think what we are really looking at is a typical urban educated women. And that is where I think the biggest challenge comes. Because the moment women get educated, we look at jobs. And what kind of jobs? For the longest time, we were taking either teaching job or banking jobs. Because we get, there's a particular standard time, okay, and teaching will give you a lot of, me included, like why you will get summer vacation, winter vacation, and so on, so that you'll have enough time to nurture your family and look after, go back and cook for them, and so on. So you find that there's a lot of divide between the urban and the rural, one thing, especially the educated and the uneducated. Now, like coming to the urban educated women, for example, why do they not take up entrepreneurship so easily? I've known, and this has been my grouse, though I believe that women should be economically independent, and that is the biggest kind of thing that a woman can be empowered with. But I always feel, because I've been in years, I've been teaching in women's colleges. And I find that the women are so competitive as far as their marks are concerned, the degrees are concerned, PG is concerned, PhD is concerned. But you find in the end, they do not take up a job. They just don't take up a job. They even rather would go, they will, sacrifice all kinds of things to appear for CET and so on, take up an engineering course, go for the engineering, and so on. They do not. So I know a whole lot of people with engineering, medicine, okay, even CAs, and as well as the graduates and postgraduates, women who do not take up, a job. But they also probably have never thought of an entrepreneurship. In fact, if you really look at probably the way ecosystem is developing, the way things are, because somehow, not just men, women, even men, for a longer time, as I was talking earlier, that we have a mindset that, if it's a job, it's very prestigious. You have a designation, you have a set pattern, people know you. But if you are doing entrepreneurship, what are you doing? What is that? It doesn't have that kind of a prestige unless you're an Ambani or an Adani. Otherwise, it doesn't matter at all. Why are you doing a small little thing? So I think our mindset has to change, one. Secondly, I feel women especially, there are two things which I have, we've found and we've been talking about it. What are those two things that women really puts them that? Not that they do not have the capability, not that they do not have the education or the skill, but I think the personality which is lacking is that they are afraid of success. There's a fear of success. They do not want to be better than their men. Okay, so there's always a thing that they would always play a second fiddle. Though they are much better, but they would like to, because they want to keep the house balance well. Because if they start earning more, then probably the men will feel a little jittery, and then their whole family gets upset and so on. So many a times women take a back seat on purpose because of the fear of success. There's also a certain thing which we call the learned helplessness. There's something called that, they just, get ensconced into that space, a comfort zone, wherein they are afraid to even come out of that. So there's a kind of, they do not even look at where they could be helped, where they could reach out, how people can really give them some kind of a support. So they just get into that space which is not comfortable, but then they get so used to that particular space. So that is something called the learned helplessness, which even men face, but then we have found more among the women. And I think that is the reason why when we entrepreneurship, there is a mindset which needs to be changed. There should be some skills, not just in terms of, what kind of jobs that they can do, but I think the attitude change should take place. There should be some soft skills to be given. In fact, I remember when we were doing this, the hackathon in a women's college. Women's college, and there was a whole lot of engineering students as well as degree students, and we did a one-day hackathon, and the women, it was actually supported by United Nations Development Program, of which I was a consultant. And I found the women were so enthusiastic to come out with that. They came out with such brilliant ideas as to what kind of entrepreneur they can take, where they can get the money from, how do they network with people, what they would do. So it is not that the women cannot do it, but the thing is, that challenge is, will they take it to the next step and start it? And that is where I think a social support is required. That is where a family support is required. That is also where the women need to develop that confidence. And the kind of a socio-cultural environment that we live in, wherein women are supposed to be very, low-key, and that kind of suits our feminine perspective. So I think that is what we need to come out with.
Sure. I think very, very valid points, and I really like the term learned helplessness. It sums it beautifully, the mindset. But I want...
Learn to be helpless.
Yeah. Yes. But I want to move to you, Roma. As an entrepreneur yourself, one of the challenges that women entrepreneurs normally face when they start setting up is finding the right team. There have been entrepreneurs who have said that when they go through interviews, there have been people who have asked them saying, how much time will you work in office? Those kind of questions. So there is a CEO of Zook, her name is Disha Singh. So she was saying that when she was asking artisans to come and work for her, and they were like, why would I want to work for a woman? And then when they saw her passion, then the whole thing built on. So how do you inspire people when you're starting up to come and work for you?
So I come from manufacturing sector, so you can imagine there are not many women still. Like I actually work mostly in the factory, shop floors, and I understand that there is a gap, correct? Because they have always seen men doing that job. Yes, it takes that effort to build that trust and, that knowledge and that substance, because when you know what you are saying, eventually people understand. Even in office, when it comes to other functions, whether it's marketing, whether it's, we deal with food, so of course the R&D becomes very, very important. Initially, I still get emails which is, "Dear Sir." So that has not changed yet. But I know that when people start interacting with you and they understand that you know your substance, you know what you are saying, you actually have that in-depth knowledge, you know how to work in the shop floor or in the big office, they actually respect you. Because you are actually building the team or building the company with your employees. They're not building it for you. You are actually building it with them. And I think that's where I feel it has worked. I mean, touch wood, it has worked for me, how we deal with our team and how the team members deal with us. I think we have spoken about inclusiveness a lot. I guess when it comes to inclusiveness, it's not just the diversity side of it, but it's really that belonging. We also need to feel belong, and they also need to feel belong, and that is when they all feel that it's a part of a family after all, correct? So I think that's what has worked for us till now. Yeah.
Fantastic. Build that
I would like to
credibility.
add here, I think you've brought out a wonderful point about, team. Because I think what makes or break a startup is the team, basically. The kind of people that are working for you. So for me, to have a team is absolutely essential and critical, and that I also have observed in, while working on various projects or assignments. So this is my practical experience as well, wherein you had a brilliant set of people on one hand who were committed, who were ingenious. So I'm not only saying brilliant from, the marks that they got. How brilliant were they when a sudden situation was thrown at them? That this is a crisis situation, we have to solve it. So the people who jumped up and caught that particular problem and they treated it like they owned it. They didn't treat it like they were an employee. They kind of treated it like they owned it, that they were the founders. So that's the kind of an employee, and I wouldn't even say employee, I would say teammate. It's like a team, and even in fact, I wouldn't even say a family. For me, it's a sport. It is not a family, it is a sport wherein you win together, you lose together, and you go through trials and turbulations. And that bonding will happen when you basically understand the other person really well. So those are some of the things that you would look for and have, those kind of people on your team, the A players. And it doesn't have anything to do with only your marks. You may be very high ranking, but if you cannot get along with your neighbor who's your teammate, who's doing the marketing and you're doing, sales, then it's of no use at all, how brilliant you are. So we have to have team players on board. We have to have people who are capable of taking charge, who treat things like they are the projects or the clients like, it's their company. So those kind of people are definitely, precious for a founder and for a startup to succeed. I think the team is pretty critical. And I think one of the things which, which I have found, I've got some IIT interns working with me. And I think they got attracted also because I was able to tell them what's in it for me. What will I learn from this experience? Let's say I'm doing this project, how will it help me? So we recently participated in Financial Alliance for Women, which is an international hackathon, where we were amongst the top 15 teams selected worldwide. And I think I was able to do so because of my team. Had my team kind of abandoned me, I wouldn't have been able to execute. So also for a founder to realize that it is not the founder themselves, it is the team effort which is taking them everywhere. So, besides selling them that, what will they benefit, how will they benefit from that particular project, you also have to share the spoils of the win with them. And also share your sorrows with them, I think, equally. Because it's no use trying to hide things from the teammates when things are really going bad. Because these are the people who will pull you up. Because you're looking for help and you can go across to many people outside. But I guess if you share your problems and the concerns with your teammates and treat them not only as teammates when you're winning, but also when you're losing, is when you'll get the support when you're losing. So it's very important to treat your team as a sort of you're playing a sport together, where the wins and losses will be part of the game, but you will go through them together. So that's my view on teammates.
Fantastic.
I just wanted to add a little bit on that. I totally agree that it should be a proper team effort. But what the research survey has shown, that majority of the startups, or rather 65% of the startups break up or do not do it because the partnership does not work. So I think those who, like for example now, I think Dr. Vijayashree was not introduced. She is my partner in my Eudaimonic Center. We both started that, entrepreneurship almost 2015, quite some time back. Now we have an association of almost 40 years. And we started this. There is absolutely no ego hassle between the two of us. Whatever we do it together. We decide it together. So I think that integrity and that kind of a, we feeling is very, very important when you start. So whom you start with, because very often you find the entrepreneurship is started in a partnership. Either 3-4 people start together or 2 people start together. So how integrated what kind of a relationship that you really have. So not just the team, but also that particular partners, they need to work together to make it really work.
Fantastic. Absolutely. I think we're almost near the hour, so I will take one last question with each of you. Maybe I'll start with you, Roma. When you start up as you've started up and you built up your team. Now, what do you think Indian founders are contributing back, women founders? Are they coming back into the investment circuit? And how is that network going to help? Because the more women come in and start investing behind other women, the more the virtuous circle will grow. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't think I've reached that level yet where I can really invest. Uh, but when it comes to contribution, I think it's also the society, the kind of society you build. Again, I'm going back to the team, but what you actually, what they actually look up, when they look up to you, what is that they are actually going back home with? Correct? The kind of attitude, the kind of perseverance, like you don't give up, they don't give up. Of course, going forward, the intention would be definitely to build each other up, because I think that's how the world will go, and that's how we will succeed. All of us, whether it's men, whether it's women, because we all need that supportive hand, we all need that push at times. So, yeah, I guess.
True, true. So I want to come to you, ma'am. You have so many people here in the audience, mostly men I see. What role do you think each of them can play in developing women entrepreneurship in the country? All of them are ambassadors. I'm hoping that all of them, the fact that they're sitting here and listening to us, that they want to meaningfully contribute to this agenda. So what request you have for them?
So I would always believe that, see, women empowerment cannot really exist in isolation, definitely not. So whatever, the empowered we are, like however little empowered we are, there is a huge contribution of our fathers, brothers, husbands, colleagues, and so on. So it is definitely that ecosystem was created around us, and they were so supportive. And I think men need to really look at that. And what I feel is that the society is definitely changing, and changing for the better as far as women's empowerment is concerned. There are incidents which are happening here and there, and each one of us develop at different paces. Some of us develop a little faster, some of us develop a little later. So, but I think every one of us, I'm sure here as well as outside, the men also would like to, support that the women come, because women's empowerment will actually empower them also. I know, for example, I'm sure all of you would agree, because we take certain decisions, or we are able to manage certain things, men actually relax and take a back seat. What my mother would have not ever been able to go to a bank or do certain jobs, I am able to do it, and so my husband is more relaxed. So I'm sure that benefits. So women's empowerment not only benefits the ecosystem, it benefits the family because of double income, and the whole system in fact changes. So I'm sure men are also very much interested towards doing that, and they are also almost taking steps along with us, and we need them. We definitely need them. It cannot really be women's empowerment cannot be only a women's issue at all. So any kind of a feminist movement that we talk about, it is not just the women, it is the men also. It is the human rights or the human empowerment, right? So I think, I'm sure all of them would agree to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. So the last question for you, Kanchan. What do you think has to be done more in capability building for women? I think this question we asked, as you asked with the Honorable Finance Minister, but from your point of view, what more has to be done for making women step up in their entrepreneurial journey from a capability building point of view?
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's a wonderful question, Sandhya. Like I mentioned, a lot has been already being done. A lot of attention is being paid to women entrepreneurs. We have at national, the Niti Aayog has the women's cell for women entrepreneurs. There are many policies which have come up as well in multiple states, including the state of Karnataka. We have, IPOs of, let's say, Nykaa. Falguni ma'am is there. So, she has taken her particular startup to IPO. She is a unicorn founder today. So there are a lot many role models today. So I would say in terms of capability building, and I personally have benefited from the capability building which has been provided by the Indian government. I have been a part of AIC Banasthali Aspiring program, which is also sponsored by or supported by the US Embassy. So, personally, I can vouch for such capability building programs which actually give you the knowledge, they put you in touch with mentors, they help you network with other entrepreneurs which are there, and they also give you, I think, opportunities wherein investors can invest in you. So many programs are there where at the end of the program, investors are invited for a demo day and they can watch you, pitch your particular product and maybe even invest in you. So in terms of capability building, a lot is being done. But still, I would say if we can have, especially because this mostly I'm talking of from a metro point of view, from a big city like Bangalore. But I would love for more and more such programs to be held in tier 2, tier 3 towns as well. Because that is one area I think our sisters in these towns and cities are, not really getting access. So also, I would say if you start right at the top, if you can start with the policies which are more women friendly, and how can you get those women friendly policies is to involve women entrepreneurs in them. So at the policy making decision level, if you can have the stakeholders, which are women entrepreneurs, also participate, I'm sure they are participating, but maybe get women from, let's say, tier 2, tier 3 towns to somehow provide their inputs to the topmost level. So that, what I'm also trying to share with you is, I'm sure it is being done, but I think more focus on this particular element could, lend strength to the way women entrepreneurs are operating in tier 2, tier 3 towns.
Sure.
And also if you're talking about even, let's say, the male stakeholders in the ecosystem. So we are talking about the investors. So can we have more women investors on board at the venture capital firms? Can we have them on, on the panels of the government organizations? So because it's very important for empathy to come in.
Sure.
So of course, men also have empathy, but the way a woman entrepreneur or an investor will be able to understand another woman is a different level altogether. It's like saying, I can understand a man. I, being Kanchan Dwivedi, can understand a man very well. I simply can't. Because, we come from very different upbringings. It's not that, I was brought up in a special way. I was brought up like a normal kid. My parents have taught me, my father taught me how to ride a motorbike, taught me how to ride a horse, taught me how to ride the Maruti 800 that kind of ages me. But it's not like we were brought up in an atmosphere, we were brought up in a very healthy atmosphere, but then societal, there are many pockets of society that you live in. So you may be living in one pocket which is very open-minded, but then you have to deal with other pockets also throughout your life, which are not so maybe so progressive as your particular pocket. So those are some of the challenges a women typically faces. So it's not like in India, it's a dismal situation. A lot of women are provided a lot of support, but then there are other times when she faces challenges when she goes across to, this 70% or, 60% of the population who are not so progressive, who don't have these ideas about women empowerment. So that's one thing that we can look at.
Sure, fantastic. See, I am a finance person, so I have to end with numbers. Take the widest criteria, including SMBs, etc. Female founders are only 14% of the Indian startup ecosystem. Only 5% of women choose this as a career choice. Other aside, companies, women founders, which have women founders, have had 35% higher return on investment and have employed 2.5 times more women. And according to a research, if there are more women who come into entrepreneurship, India can add $1 trillion of our 5 trillion, 1 trillion can come from there to our GDP. Globally, we can add $12 trillion. That's the kind of number. That's a 12 trillion is a McKinsey study. So all of us, understand numbers. We all want to be part of a progressive economy. So really the request to each one of you is, and as ma'am nicely said, if you can go back and see how we encourage more women come into the entrepreneurial space, and we are able to build on to the virtuous circle of growth of our economy, our country, our world. Thank you so much for this extremely insightful session, and thank you for being a kind audience and listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandhya.
Thank you.
Good evening all.